Chapter 1. Blood Awakening. Shuqing Third High School Stadium. Thousands of students aged 16, arranged in neat formations by class. They wore identical school uniforms, but their expressions varied: nervous, expectant, anxious. They stared fixedly at the 3-meter-tall, pure, white stone stele in the center of the field. Awakening stele. Awakening rate: 1 in 100,000. 90 are invalid abilities. 9.9 are ordinary or potential, but need development abilities. Truly powerful or strategic level ability, users account for about 0.1 of awakeners. The atmosphere was as oppressive as the sea before a storm. Next, Class 7 of Senior Year 3, Yue Chenxiao. The announcement broke the silence. In the crowd, a tall, stern-looking boy stepped forward. His classmates unconsciously parted to make way, as if an invisible barrier surrounded him, isolating all noise. He ignored all the gazes converging on him and walked straight toward the stele. Yue Chenxiao, a name that was almost legendary in the school, not because he was wealthy or who his parents were, but because for 3 years, in academics, physical fitness, and combat, he was always the unshakable top. Even his face was universally acknowledged as the best. At this moment, he had only one thought in his mind: that it has been 16 years since I crossed over. 10 years ago, my parents died on the battlefield to protect humanity, their bones scattered. This blood feud, this responsibility of protection, must be inherited by me. I need power. Look, it's God Yue a level. He can definitely awaken a level. Of course, someone like God, you might even be S-level. His deskmate, the chubby Wang Fugue, excitedly waved his fists as if it were him stepping onto the stage. He was Yue Chenxiao's deskmate, although they hardly spoke a few words each semester. Be quiet, the director of education shouted from the front, but his gaze was also on Yue Chenxiao, filled with anticipation. This was the most likely class to produce an S-level genius in his teaching career. All hopes rested on this boy. Yue Chenxiao stood before the awakening stele. He extended his right hand, pressing it against the cold surface of the stele. Buzz! The stele emitted a faint sound, and light erupted from the bottom layer. Level white, a level orange, level yellow. The speed of the light's ascent was so fast that it was hard to catch with the naked eye. Level green, blue, a level purple. When the purple light appeared, gasps echoed throughout the stadium. A level, enough to become a high-ranking official in the city, with a bright future ahead. However, the light did not stop. It broke through the purple limit, bathing in a blinding silver. S-level. S-level. The director of education was so excited he nearly fainted. The light still did not stop. The director's breath halted, his eyes fixed intently on the stele. The silver light continued to rise, deepening into a brilliant gold, as if a small sun was rising within the stele. S-level, the highest talent level ever seen in human history. At this moment, time seemed to freeze. Everyone forgot to breathe, forgot to think, only left with a shuddering awe deep in their souls. But this was not the end. The golden light grew ever more dazzling, beginning to tremble violently. An indescribable, terrifying pressure spread from the stele. Crack, a light sound, and the supposedly indestructible awakening stele cracked open a tiny fissure. Boom! At that same moment, a sound far more violent than any thunderclap came from the direction of the school gate. A sharp, piercing alarm echoed through the sky. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! Members of the evil cult Heaven's Choice Alliance detected. Repeat. Enemy attack. The voice on the broadcast was distorted by urgency. Panic erupted among the teachers and students in the stadium. Heaven's Choice Alliance? Those lunatics. Don't panic. The director of education reacted first. A powerful aura surging from him. He was indeed a martial artist at the Qi realm. All security teachers, follow me. The rest of the teachers immediately organized students into the underground shelter. Yes, dozens of figures rushed out of the stadium, following the director of education, resolutely heading toward the direction where the flames of war ignited. They were the last line of defense for the school. In an instant, the combat power of the entire stadium was completely drawn away. That moment. No one noticed that in the shadows at the edge of the stadium, a pool of thick, dark red liquid was silently writhing. It coalesced into a 2-meter-tall, skinless monster with sinewy muscles and tendons exposed. An elite-level alien, blood demon. It ignored the fleeing ordinary students, its crimson eyes locking onto the figure of Yue Chenxiao in the center of the field. The battle on the front line was merely a feint. Eliminating this unparalleled genius who was awakening was its true mission. The blood demon opened its massive mouth, its hind legs pushing off violently, its corrosive slime burning a pit into the ground, and its huge body transformed into a blood red. Flash, shooting out. Target, Yue Chenxiao. Ah, an alien. A student spotted it and screamed in terror. Chaos erupted in an instant. However, the blood demon only had eyes for that boy. The one standing before the awakening steel, enveloped in light. At this moment, the power within Yue Chenxiao had reached its boiling point. On the awakening steel, that compressed golden light underwent a complete transformation. A deep, domineering crimson, as if it would dye the world blood red, erupted with a roar. SSS-level, an unprecedented level, surpassing history. The crimson beam shot into the sky, even overshadowing the distant explosion. An invisible force field centered around Yue Chenxiao erupted. Gravity control. Thud thud. The thousands of fleeing students around were, as if struck by an invisible mountain, all pressed to the ground, unable to move. Wang Fuge was even face down, pinned to the ground. The blood demon charging toward Yue Chenxiao suddenly halted, as if it had crashed into solidified cement, its speed reduced to zero, frozen in midair. For the first time, fear appeared in its crimson eyes. As the force field released, Yue Chenxiao slowly opened his eyes. What kind of eyes were those? There was no confusion of just awakening, no panic in the face of crisis, only an unfathomable coldness and killing intent. He didn't even glance back at the blood demon, suspended in midair. His gaze passed through the chaotic crowd, over the battlefield of combat, looking toward a certain direction beyond the school gate. As if engaging in a silent confrontation with some distant existence. Then he slowly withdrew his gaze, turned his head, and his cold stare fell on the blood demon that could not move. Trash. He raised his hand. Chapter 2. Lethal intent. 5 fingers gently clenched. Buzz. The world fell utterly silent at that moment. An invisible force pressed toward the blood demon from all directions. The air let out a mournful cry under the unbearable burden. Visible ripples emerged. Crack, crack. That was the sound of bones being crushed and misaligned inch by inch. The blood demon's formless head opened and closed its massive mouth frantically, but could not produce a sound. All sound waves were obliterated by the terrifying pressure. Only endless fear spread wildly in its crimson single eye. Its body began to collapse, twist, and compress in an extremely bizarre manner. The tough tendons were tearing apart inch by inch. The murky blood had not yet splashed out before being squeezed back in the body by an even more terrifying pressure. Puff! A barely audible light sound. The elite-level blood demon that had brought despair to thousands of students left not even a handful of complete flesh behind. It was crushed into a swirling blood mist. Mixed with the finest bone powder, it drifted down like a gentle rain. Silence. The entire stadium fell into a deathly silence. Everyone was frozen in place, whether they had run far away or had fallen to the ground, gazing at the figure in the center of the stadium with eyes full of awe as if looking at a deity. The young man stood there. Beneath his feet was the cracked earth resembling a spider web. Not far away lay a pool of blood demon remains. He slowly retracted his fingers, tilted his head, and scanned the dazed classmates, finally landing on the terrified Wang Fugue, who was paralyzed on the ground. Wang Fugue shivered, suddenly feeling warmth in his pants. Yue Chenxiao's gaze lingered on him for half a second, as if trying to discern something, before turning away indifferently. He looked at the school guards who had just rushed into the stadium, his tone flat, yet carrying an undeniable authority. Too slow. What the hell? Wang Fugue, who had been pinned to the ground by the earlier gravitational field, was just now propping up his plump body, his entire face quivering uncontrollably. You got. What? What kind of divine ability is this? Range suppression. Remote annihilation. Is this even a skill a newbie should have? Yue Chenxiao withdrew his hand, feeling the incessant flow of power within him, along with a slight emptiness that followed. The foundation of the Qi gathering realm was still too weak that strike had nearly drained his nascent abilities, but the dormant martial energy within him was thus awakened, surging like a great river. quickly circulating through his limbs and bones, replenishing the consumption. Martial arts and abilities had already begun to merge within him. As Shuqing High School plunged into chaos and ecstasy due to a sudden attack and the birth of an SS-level genius. Higher dimensional beings also sense the faint yet unique ripples of the law. Demon domain, abyss of blood and bone, that on a throne constructed from the bones of billions of beings, a demon god that could not be described in words slowly opened a third vertical eye. In that eye, there was no pupil. Only endless stars flickered and faded. SSS-level, the embryonic form of the law. In the ancestral land of humanity, the cold, cruel will cross the endless void, resonating in the souls of all high-ranking demons. At all costs, find him and eliminate him. Divine court, pinnacle of holy light. The angelic legion, chanting hymns, suddenly fell silent, feeling a domineering will that even made the holy light tremble. An angel with 12 wings on her back cast her gaze upon the blue planet that had grown 1,000,000 times larger than before, her expression revealing a hint of gravity. The human race has produced another disruptor. Relay my divine decree, dispatch judgment, and purify before he grows. Dragon's nest, deep sea, insect hole. Ancient and terrifying wills awaken from their slumber across epochs. These ancient ancestors, standing at the pinnacle of all races, an ordinary genius, even an SS-level one, was merely a slightly stronger ant. But SS-level was different. That was a monster that touched the essence of the law. A spark with infinite possibilities, capable of changing the fate of an entire race once it grew. Humanity must not possess such an existence. An invisible net woven by countless powerful alien forces targeting Yue Chenxiao was quietly cast towards Blue Star. Chenxiao Federation, Supreme Command Center. The shrill alarm echoed in the vast war room. Report. An ultra-spec energy eruption has been detected in the Shuqing area. Level. Cannot be determined. Energy fluctuation characteristics match SS-level standards. In the center of the war room, a robust figure suddenly stood up. He wore a dark green general's uniform, adorned with dazzling military stars, with a commanding presence that exuded authority without anger. He was none other than the supreme commander of the Chenxiao Federation's war zone, known as the Iron Wall of Humanity, the strongest among humanity at the pinnacle of the ninth stage of the Wanxiang realm. Longzhan, SSS-level. Longzhan's voice was deep like a bell. Is the intelligence confirmed? Absolutely accurate. This is the highest authority data returned by the Awakening Monument. There's no way it could be wrong. The entire command center erupted in excitement. God bless humanity. An SS-level truly has been born. Quick, immediately ascertain identity. Activate the highest level fire sea protection plan. Longzhan's eyes also sparkled with uncontrollable excitement, but his battle-hardened nature allowed him to quickly calm down. He understood better than anyone that if humanity could detect it, all other races could too. Order. Commander of the Demon Suppression Army Yue Chenxiao. Immediately airdrop into Shuqing, militarily seal off the entire city, and allow not a fly to escape. Order. The Shuqing City Defense Army. Immediately escort the target to the S-level military base. No one is to make contact until Yue Chenxiao arrives. Yes. Longzhan's gaze swept over an inconspicuous figure in the corner of the war room. That person also held a high position, responsible for intelligence coordination, currently bowing his head with an unreadable expression. Ming Chonlu. Longzhan said in a deep voice. Heaven's judgment is to operate at full capacity. I want to know everything that happened in Shuqing today, including that perfectly timed enemy attack. All details. The man known as Ming Chonlu slowly raised his head, revealing a round and amiable face, respectfully responding, "Rest assured, Marshal, Chonlu guarantees to complete the task." But in the moment he bowed his head, a hint of coldness and malice flashed in his eyes, starkly contrasting with his demeanor. His fingers, hidden in his sleeve, silently sent an encrypted message on a miniature device. Target: Yue Chenxiao. Location: Shuqing number 3 Middle School. Talent: SS-level gravity control. Mission: capture alive. The recipient of the information was the most notorious traitor organization among Humanity Heaven's Choice Alliance. His son had awakened the S-level ability Energy Plunder, as long as he could seize this perfect divine medicine Yue Chenxiao, his son would have the chance to become the second SS level. Night fell. Shuqing was under complete martial law, the skies sliced by patrolling warplanes, a chilling atmosphere enveloping the entire city. Yue Chenxiao was immediately taken away by the Shuqing military. The awakening and battle had exhausted him greatly. He needed rest. The military arranged for him to be in a special care ward at the S-level underground base, on the third underground level of the base. This was considered the safest place in Shuqing. A military armored vehicle quietly left the military district under the night, attracting all prying eyes. This was a smoke screen released by the military. The real Yue Chenxiao was still in the ward at this moment. Midnight. In the ward, Yue Chenxiao suddenly opened his eyes. He did not turn on the light in the darkness. His eyes shone remarkably bright. A feeling of being targeted by a venomous snake made all the hair on his body stand on end. There is killing intent.